on coming, walkers.
Are you gonna sell your new shoes today?
That's one thing I'm going to tell you. We actually have run out. But we're going to have them in a couple shows, and you can get them. You can get them on TomShoes.com, and we're getting them up on HANSON.net. So
keep on coming.
This is our little halfway point.
We're almost there now. So this is where we like to pause for a second, and I'll let the rest of it up in here. This is awesome. We got strollers in the background. We're rocking the younger generation.
New generation of Hanson fans.
New generation. That's right. So guys, this is where we like to stop and pause for a minute and talk about why we're doing this whole thing. First of all, I'm really glad it's a little warmer today. You know, this whole walk thing started with a really crazy idea. You know, we saw that so many of you guys, when we put out the song Great Divide to help raise money for AIDS research in Africa, a lot of people responded and they said, well, hey, what can I do, or how can I be a part of this? And our whole point was always, the reality of the situation is the fact that there's no perfect solution. The only way that anything's really going to change, you know, for those living, you know, in Africa, or let alone anywhere else where there's huge challenges, is by, you know, many people using what they have to make a difference. Nobody's got the perfect solution. And so we had this idea. We said, well, let's do these walks. Let's walk barefoot, which I'll remind you about the barefoot thing now. It's clear we can do it. And we said, well, let's do these barefoot mile walks in every city. And we thought, well, you know what? 3 people walking down the street saying, you know, I tried to walk. That won't really matter. Well, it would matter, but what would happen was, well, maybe we're just going to be walking down the street alone. But instead, you guys joined us over and over, and fans all over the country. And, you know, we've now walked today. This is the 52nd mile. And one of the things that we've been doing this whole time is I want to tell you about Tom's shoes. And a lot of you guys have been supporting us along the way and know all about it. But see some Toms over there. Anybody have Toms? Anybody have some Tom's shoes? So Tom's shoes is a great example of using what you have, not only as a person but as a company. Every time you buy a pair of their shoes, they decided to donate a second pair to a child in poverty for everyone. So when we started this whole thing, our goal was to help Tom's Shoes sell 50,000 pairs of shoes. And amazingly, at the end of last year, we reached that goal thanks to you guys. And thanks to many of you guys that joined us, 50,000 pairs of shoes. And, you know, the reminder there, the important thing there is it wasn't a few people buying hundreds of pairs of shoes or people buying 1,000 pairs of shoes at a time. It was 50,000 people saying, I can buy a pair of shoes. I can do 1 pair of shoes. I can buy maybe 2 or 3. Maybe I'm going to buy a few for my friends. Maybe I can tell somebody else about it. That's the power of what we're doing today. You know, we're a generation of people that has everything at our fingertips, quite literally. You know, we spend our life on Facebook and, you know, and doing stuff that, you know, probably there's nothing wrong with it, but it doesn't exactly serve a purpose. But we, you know, with the same energy that we put into doing something that just kills time, we could be doing something that could change the world. And this doesn't mean everybody goes and hugs trees and tries to change the world on their own. What it means is that we become a generation to be reckoned with. I mean, we become a generation that people look back on and they say, oh my God, look what they did for their children, look what they did for the future, because we decided to live more actively. We decided to look at the shoes we buy, the clothes we buy, the businesses we start, the ideas that we have as a way to make a difference in the world. You know, we actually shied away for a long time from being a band that stands up on a pedestal and talks about causes and tries to, you know, preach to people. But the thing about it, you know, what's going on in Africa is it is actually the greatest challenge in history. This is a time when you've got enough kids without parents because they've died of AIDS that can fill the entire area of Manhattan and the surrounding boroughs. You can imagine the amount of, you know, 12 million children right now that don't have families because they've died of AIDS. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, I don't think that's political. I don't think that is anybody's, you know, partisan politics talking about that. That's just kids that don't have families. And, you know, the idea of starting with a pair of shoes is that there's so many basic needs that we have the power to face by simply starting small. When we went to deliver those 50,000 pairs of shoes, we sat with kids. I have a 5-year-old son, and I sat with 5-year-olds that walk 10 kilometers a day, both directions, just to try and go to school without a pair of shoes. And you think about that, and you're holding the bare, callus-covered foot of a little kid who's so excited just to get to go to school, that shares a notebook with his whole family, and he writes on the back of the pages, so he can give it to his brother that writes on the other side of the pages, and he's holding the first new pair of shoes he's ever had. And don't you think that's going to change that person's life? Just to have somebody walk in and say, you know what, it's the first new pair of shoes, it's time to start your walk in a different direction. Now, this is where I want to remind you guys about the barefoot part. I've been on detention for walking barefoot because of the cold, and the tour being stopped because we're all sick, but the tour's not stopping because we're not sick enough to stop a tour, ever. So, this is where I want to invite you guys. I've now tested it out, and you can walk barefoot safely. So I want to challenge and invite you guys to take off your shoes for the rest of this half mile. And I want to remind you, this is your decision. Please watch for glass and rocks, and we'll probably survive the smell, I promise. I want to invite you guys to take your shoes off and walk the rest of this mile barefoot. This is not a demonstration for anybody around us. As we can see, the coal pile is not going to make a difference. The people walking today are the ones that are going to make a difference. You guys. This is something I can't stress enough. This is not a demonstration awareness walk. This is an action walk. This is about everybody that's joining us today. You guys standing here saying, you know what? I've got tools, I've got ideas, I have energy, and I have the influence on the other people around me to say, you know what? I showed up. And that's what you guys have done today. You decided to show up and join us. And you need to be really proud of that. Even if you think it's small, believe me, it's hard to show up. And you guys are one of the few that decides to, make this your problem just by deciding to walk. I want to see a show of hands. Who's walking barefoot today? That's what I'm talking about. You guys want to finish this mile already?
Yeah!
If you guys say it with me, say, I took the walk!
I took the walk!
Say it again, I took the walk!
I took the walk!
All right, you guys, let's finish this mile.